Question for you. Have you guys ever wondered what it would be like to climb in one of these things and actually go out and spray a field with it? Well, that's what this video is going to be about. So late in the season, and once I got pretty comfortable flying this thing, what I ended up doing is setting up some cameras. I put two or three cameras on the inside, one facing forward, one under the wing. And what I wanted to do is just show you guys what it's like from my seats and my perspective, and give you an idea of what it's actually like to go out there and spray a field. How we set up the GPS system, the patterns that we use, how we approach a field, just what it's like. I try to recreate that experience for you. So I hope you like this video, and let's get started. All right. First thing we gotta do to get in this thing is get your seatbelt on. Now we gotta start this thing. Fuel on, master on, fast start is engaged, checking everything. Boost pump on. Gotta build some pressure here. Clear! Start prop. Watching EGT. Testing 1, 2. All right, so what we're doing now is just waiting for the oil temperature to be in the green there, and then waiting for the GPS system to fire up while watching the temperatures here. So this will be our map. These will be the fields we're going to be spraying today. There's a grouping of them, and I'm going to start with this one in the north here. And what I like to do is, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's two things here. So one, there's this code right here that you can scan like that, and that'll pull up Google Maps. It'll take me right to the field that I'm going to be spraying. So that's kind of a backup for what I'm going to be doing here. So on this system, what I like to do is set up my waypoints. So this is my Dickinson route, and then what I'll do for waypoint 1 is put in these numbers right here: 46, 44, 06.01. Enter, and then 102. Obviously these are coordinates, and then I return to map. And then what I do is I go to keypad, set waypoint 1. And then if you guys can see out there on my light bar, it'll tell me on the left side which heading I need to be at and how far the field is. All right, so I got some good oil temperature here. Next thing I'm gonna do is figure out which runway I need.
Dickinson, Theodore Roosevelt Regional Airport.
Automated weather observation 1742 Zulu. Wind 300 at 11. Sky condition clear.
All right, so it's 300. What I'm gonna do is go to taxiway 32. That'll be the taxiway the runway I'm gonna be taking. Dickinson traffic, Rush A1 Victor is gonna be taxiing to runway 32. Slowly bring the RPM in, just like that. Looking around, make sure I don't have any hoses hooked up or anything, so good there. The RPM up, right about there. I'm gonna bring the throttle back to get it off the locks here and get it out of beta. Like that, nice and slow. Bring it forward, and we should be moving forward, just like that. All right, perfect. So the plan today is just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it's like to come out here and spray one of these fields inside one of these machines. What this machine is it's a Thrush with a Garrett's Dash 1 engine on about 600 horsepower engine. It's got a 400-gallon hopper in it. I don't have it filled. I mean, I got 260 gallons of water in there, which is pretty easy for this thing to handle. I would say probably 350 is about the max I've ever taken, depending on how much fuel you got in this thing. What I think I might do to just save on the battery of these cameras here is I'm just going to shut them down for a minute, and then once I get out to the field, I'll turn them back on. Hopefully we can get a little more footage, because I don't want them to die, so be back. So unfortunately, when I was playing back the footage, that camera that I had facing the light bar didn't record the light bar like I was hoping it would. So as I was explaining it, you guys could kind of follow along and see what it is that I was seeing. So what I'm gonna have to do is I have this picture here, and I'm gonna walk you guys through what it is that I see on the light bar so you can kind of understand what it is I'm talking about. If you come up to the top here, you're gonna have on the left side, you're gonna have the swath number, and that's basically which row I'm on. So if I'm on, you know, the first one's gonna be 5, and if I go over to, like, let's say I'm doing the racetrack pattern and I have 20 swaths to complete that whole field, the middle one is gonna be 10, and then I'll go back to 2, and then, you know, 11, and then 3, and then so on and so forth. So I know which swath I'm on, and then at the end it'll say last swath. It'll come across here and it'll say last swath. So I know that that'll be the last one of the field. The one on the right is my cross-track direction, and that's the one, the number is my distance. So as I come into the field, it'll say like I need to go to the right probably 300 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet, and it'll count down until I get on my line like this. And then that will also say, like, as I'm going down the field, if I'm 5 feet off or 10 feet off or whatever it is, then I push my rudders and kind of line it up so that I'm in the middle. And then when I am on my line, it'll have 0, 0, 0 just like this. And it'll be, you know, these lights will light up as well. And then I'll also be able to see it on my screen that I'm down the center of the field. But this kind of keeps you lined up. So if I'm 2 feet, 3 feet, then I just bring it over just a little bit. And that's what that is. And also when I'm going out to the field and trying to find the field, it'll tell me which direction, or which heading, I should say, which heading I need to be on to get to the field. And once I get closer, it'll tell me how many feet or how many miles it is to that field. So on the left side, it'll say, right here, it'll say heading 130, and then I am 20 miles out. And as I get closer, within a mile, it'll tell me how many feet, and it'll actually bring me right to the center of that field. So that's what I'm talking about as I'm going out to the field. The light bar here on the bottom is my heading angle, and then on the top it'll tell me how many feet. You can set this up to be different feet, I believe. So if like 3 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot, and that'll give me my cross track distance in LED format. Also, one last thing is that on mine, I think it's a little different, but on mine it'll have a light here and a light here. It's different than this one, kind of like this one here, and it'll turn blue. So once I have my spray on, it'll have a blue light, or maybe it's here and here. Two blue lights here and here, somewhere in there it'll tell me that my swath is on and that I'm actually spraying the field. So that way I know when it's on and when it's off. If I accidentally hit it or whatever, it'll tell me that I'm spraying. So hopefully you guys can understand that, and that makes a little bit of sense. So when I'm talking about it, you guys get a picture or an idea of what it is that I'm talking about.
Okay, so now that we're airborne, as you guys can see on the light bar over there, on the front of the aircraft, I have 2.4 miles to go to get to the center of the field. That light bar takes you to the center of the field of the coordinates that you put in earlier, or that I put in earlier. So 2 miles left, and I have my map here in hand. And so what I want to do, once I get to the field, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this for this top one here first. I don't know if you guys can see that. I got this one here, and then these ones down here. And so once I get to the center, then I know that I'm at the right location. And then what I want to do is just find my field. And I know it's this field over here because I sprayed this field earlier. I guess it was probably about a week ago. And you also want to confirm that you got sunflowers, which obviously there's sunflowers in that field. So when I get to a field like this, especially if I've never sprayed it before, and this will be the first time I spray it, I just kind of fly around it and look for any kind of hazards that might be out there. I scan the perimeter, looking for any wires or fences or a tree. There's a big tree right there in the middle of it. I usually go around it a couple times. Sometimes I'll turn around and go the other way to get a better view. And then once I've made a couple laps around and I don't see any hazards, what I do is I try to figure out how I'm going to spray the field. Now there's a couple of different ways of doing this. Let me set it up here. There's a couple of different patterns of it that you can use depending on the size of the field. I'll explain this here in a little bit more detail.
Let's talk patterns. So when egg spraying, there's several different patterns that you can use, but there's only 3 that I actually use, 3 main ones that I actually use. So let's say this is a field, right? Like a field here. Now, let's say this is our airplane, okay? Here's our airplane. One of the main ones that you use would be like a racetrack pattern, for example. So you would enter the field, you would set a point right here, and this would be called your A point. And then you would do a point right here. So you would fly down like this, fly through the field, on the edge of the field like that. And then once you got to the end of the field here, you would set your B point right there. Then you would come all the way around like this to the other edge of the field, and then you would set a point right here, and that would be your C point. Then once you have your field basically like mapped out, you would fly down this way, and then you would come back do another line here, just like this, and then you would come into the middle of the field, just like this. And then you would just go along the field all the way down like that. So your turns are consistent and you're basically shifting all the way like this with that spacing until you get to the end of the field, okay? So that's kind of your standard main one, and that's called the racetrack. Another one that you can do is called the back-to-back, and of course, when you'll enter the field, you're gonna set your A point just like this. You're gonna fly your field all the way down at the edge. You're gonna come back here and you're gonna set your B points. So now that you have that set, you only need 2 for a back-to-back. And what that is exactly what it says. You would just go back-to-back. So you'd come out here, you would fly out like this, and then you run your line down like that, come out, and of course it depends on which way the wind is blowing, but you would come out and then you come back around and you would just keep going down just like that. You would be setting lines just like this, back to back, is that's what they call back to back. Let me show you the last one. And this one I use for like a smaller field, and that's called the squeeze. So like a smaller, tighter field, I'll just squeeze it from one side to the other and I'll just squeeze it in. Let me show you what that looks like. And that back-to-back you can use too for kind of a smaller field. The racetrack one you want to use like on a bigger section, you know, a much wider field, so you have a lot more spacing to do that pattern. You know, it all depends on what your field looks like. So when I have a field that's like this, let's say, kind of narrower, what I like to do is, I'll make my airplane up here again, is do a squeeze pattern. So just like every other field, you enter the field, you'll set right here, you'll set your A points, you'll fly down the field like this, come back here, you'll set your B points, and then you're gonna go to the edge of the field like normal, and then that will be your C points. But on this pattern, what you're gonna do is you're gonna come out, you'll come back around here, and then come back in like this, and then just squeeze in so you get to the center, just like this. And that's just compressing into the middle of the field. So those are the 3 patterns that I use most often. Your racetrack, your squeeze pattern, which is this, and then your back-to-back.
So what I decided to do, because of the size of this field, is choose the racetrack pattern. So I go to my M3 here, and I choose racetrack, and I'm gonna do left turns, and then I'll exit to my map. And then what I wanna do is figure out which way the wind is blowing from. So I know the wind is coming from the north to the south. And with that being said, I'm gonna start on that side of the field and set my A line, and then I'll go down and I'll set my B line, and then I'll come across the field to the other side, and then I'll set my C line. And what that'll do is that'll kind of give me the shape around the field, you know, to get me set up for the racetrack pattern. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So I'm just gonna kind of come out and get set up to set those lines. And I set those lines with this button right here. I'll have turn my pump on, get that primed up and ready to go, and just kind of make a turnaround like this. And then just get lined up to start this pattern. All right, so here we go. We're getting lined up here. We're gonna kind of dive into this field. We're gonna set that line. I'll set that line right about here. Turn my spray on. And you can see on the light bar there, at the end of the field, I'll click that button again, and that'll be my B line. Just like that. Spray off. And I'm gonna extend it out a little bit so I can get perfectly lined up with that C line on the edge of the field. Around. Get lined up here, get down on the field like this, set that C line, spray on, just like this. And spray off. All right, so now that I have the pattern set, it wants me to go back to the other side of the field, and then I'll start that racetrack pattern. So then I'll just come around, get that turn coming like this, and then I just let that nose drop into it. You can see on the light bar, once I get to a certain point, on the right side, it'll tell me how many feet I'm up on the swath. So I'll come in like this, try to get lined up, 200 feet, 100 feet, 60 feet. I got a bit of a tree here, so I gotta kind of dive in after that, try to spray on, and then I gotta go left, a few feet here, and I usually just kind of control this with my rudders, try to stay on line as much as I can. When it to the right there, slide over, enter the field, spray off, click that button there, and then it'll line me up. It'll bring me back to the center of the field, and then I'll start doing the racetrack pattern, just like this. Get up, let that nose drop, look at the light bar. It'll say go to the right, 900 feet, 800 feet, 700 feet, and so on. That green line on top will also tell me how to lead it in. And there's a tree ahead of me, so the tree's right in the center of the field, so I'm just gonna go right up over that tree for now, and I'll come back and clean this up later. Just like this. Dive down into the field, try to get on my line. Yep, just spray off. Tuck it, right just a little bit, bring it out, bring that nose up, like this, and then just kind of let her drop in. You guys to see on my screen here how it's painting a line also. Helps guide me to where I need to go. Left a little bit, over the trees, spray on, so. Spray off, click it. Model a little bit like this. Bring it up. Kind of have to let it float here a little bit. Then just bring that nose down and just slide right into it. Slide right into that line. Just like that. See if I can get a little more accurate this time. All right, spray on. And then I'm trying to stay on the line with my rudders. I can also use these rows here, which help out a great deal, and my screen. But most of the time I just want to look outside, make sure that I'm not going to hit anything. And then up, spray off, bring this down a little bit so I can see better. It's getting a little bright. And then we just continue this pattern until the field's done, or we run out of chemical and we got to go back and get some more. It's like this. See, I have these trees in front of me, so I kind of have to dive down a little bit over them. And then I just kind of eyeball where I'm going to drop in at, right here, spray on, get on my line. You notice when I come in on this next pass, on the screen here, it's painting a green line. You know, it's gonna guide me in and then just kind of paints a line of where I'm spraying. All right, just get lined up. Right, and spray on. To the right just a little bit, use the rudders to get evened out. And you notice on the screen there, it's painting that line. I'm off just a little bit to the left. Quite a bit, actually. And then off, spray off. Click the line. You know, and every once in a while, when you go over the field, you kind of want to look left and look right, make sure that your spray nozzles are doing what they should be doing and they're not clogged and dragging or anything like that. I guess the next thing I could do is explain to you a little bit about that light bar and what I'm looking at there. So on the left side, you're gonna see which pass I'm on. It's pass number 6. And then when I turn, that top one is gonna guide me to my next swap. And of course, obviously, like I said before, the one on the right tells you how many feet I am off. I'll come back a little bit, catch that. Overshot that one just a touch, but we're back on track here. And then when I turn the spray on, you'll notice in the center they're gonna have those blue lights. So those blue lights let you know that the spray is on. And then just round and round we go, one pass after another. Sometimes, you know, depending on how windy it is, your turns to be good one way and then they kind of suck the other way. Down a little bit, that turn coming, using the rudders, making sure you're coordinating here. That's pretty important. And then get that nose coming down, just like this. I keep overshooting on this side. I'm gonna have to adjust my turns a little bit. All right, up, click the button, you got a turn coming. I go out, I always go out just a little bit and then, you know, kind of get into that turn, trying to keep it coordinated as you're going through the turn, and then letting that nose fall into it, just like that. And I'm using my feet to try to stay on the line. Click the button. I'm gonna turn out a little bit more on this one. Seemed to overshoot it on the last one. Last double, I think, kind of overshooting it. All right, that looks a little bit better on this one. There we go. Okay, right over the tree. Spray on. Find that line. Up and over. And spray off. Just like that. Getting a little bumpy out. Not too bad though. So, you know, honestly, that's pretty much it. It's just, you know, getting out here and doing it and trying to get better at doing your turns and grabbing the lines and staying consistent. It's pretty choppy out here today, so it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit bumpy, which makes it a little bit more difficult. The best time to do this is usually early in the mornings or the evenings when it's just smooth and it's a lot of fun at that time. The vid day, it seems like you kind of have to fight it a little bit, but, you know, it's still a pretty awesome job. You know, other than that, I really don't know what to tell you here. It's like this all day long. You just get your load, find your field, set your patterns depending on the field and the size of the field, and then it's just back and forth, catching that line, making those passes, and it's like that all day long. So if you guys are ever, any of you guys out there interested in doing this, this is kind of what it looks like from my perspective.